Hello and welcome everyone. I was just discussing the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Okay. Again, many people are very familiar with yoga as being the great exercise or therapeutic system of exercise that involves deep breathing, sort of breathing in and breathing out for therapeutic enrichment. Deep breathing, stretch and twist, particularly when you just wake up in the morning or before you relax in the nighttime, or even any time in the day. People do this stretch and twist to sort of keep healthy. To keep healthy, you have to keep exercising yourself. So a lot of people ascribe, they know yoga to be that hatha yoga. That's actually hatha yoga, that form of yoga which consists of asanas or postures, the way a lot of great Indian masters have taught it to the world. In fact, United Nations, everywhere, there's now a whole international yoga day. Yoga is so famous now and so highly popularized. It's of great benefit to everyone. Anybody who does this system of exercises, hatha yoga is what it's called. You really benefit from it. But my aspect, what I've actually studied for years, is what I want to talk about. It's more like a theoretical approach to the study, more like deep understanding of what you're actually doing. Difference between actually the practicals and the theory. Going to the farm to actually bulldoze the place and plant the crops is a great thing, but actually going to college to study agriculture is another thing. So this is more like the theoretical study of yoga, studying yoga to really know what you are doing. What are these postures? What do they mean? Every single posture I'm doing, what exactly am I doing? So it has this aspect, it has the practical aspect. You go to the laboratory, the field work, which is what people do. A lot of yoga centers worldwide, they do this stretch. They go stretch out, they twist, they count. They do the deep breathing, breathe in, breathe out. They do the great exercise, and you can feel it in your body. You benefit tremendously from it. But as well, it will be great, and knowledge is power. You might want to understand what you are doing, the knowledge behind what are these postures, what are these asanas. So there's a very great famous Indian genius by the name Patanjali. Patanjali is a household name in India. Patanjali is very famous. Patanjali, about 2,000 years ago, Patanjali was able to write a perfect expression, flawless expression of what this is all about, how you put your body and soul together by yoga. So I have spent years actually concentrating on Patanjali research, what Patanjali did, trying to really study this yoga. It's a tiny book, actually. It's not even as big as Bhagavad Gita. Most of these books that have been translated for the to English language for the Western audience, mostly by great scholars. So I worked on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which discourses in great detail what these things are, what putting the body and soul, what this life is. For instance, I give you a good example right there. Mothers gave birth to us as children, and then we walk through this life. What is this life we walk through? What exactly are we doing? And if I tell you that the human being is like an egg, you may find that you probably have never heard that before. And these are the wonderful philosophies we try to teach you. The egg. And then the egg has to pass through the process. The egg contains the chick. You see that? And yet the egg does not look like the hen. But the hen lays the egg. The egg contains the chick. And then at time of maturity, when the eggshell actually cracks, now the chick comes out, and so on and so forth. So that philosophy I'm giving you is a very powerful philosophy. But you're going to have to practice a lot of meditation. You really have to get to understand what you are doing. While you are practicing your yoga, you read the books, you try to understand what the asanas are. And if you really read this good book, which I'm going to really suggest, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, you're going to find what you are doing very interesting, like we do. If I didn't find it interesting, I would probably be talking about it now. So I'm going to read a couple of sutras to your hearing. There are about 200 sutras, slightly less than 200 sutras. They are very profound. I must warn you, if you don't have the capacity of deep thinking, great meditation, concentration, deep thinking, this study might not be for you, because Patanjali is a genius. He's a huge mind. I mean, he is a giant. So there are 200 verses, but they are very profound verses. It will challenge your intelligence. It requires a pretty smart person to sit down and contemplate for long, penetrate wisdom. Wisdom is very profound. It's not something you can see straight on the side. It's not like kindergarten. You got to teach children the 3 blind mice, or you got to teach them the ABCDs. This is something really deep. You have to sit down and contemplate and meditate, and then you become enlightened by concentration and meditation. So I'm going to just read you a clip. I'll read you a clip of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. These are my translations. I have sat tight for years to study Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and I was able to do a translation, my own translation in English. So I'm going to read from my translation for you to sort of sit back whenever you have the time to meditate, concentrate, and try to see if that enriches your yoga practice. I'm just going to run through them because of time. 1. Now the teaching and explanation of yoga. 2. Yoga is the restraint of thought, the control of flowing thought, protecting it from assuming destructive or negative forms. 3. At that point, the seer dwells in his own natural state. 4. At other points in time, the seer is of identical form as the flowing thought. 5. There are 5 categories of flowing thought, and they are either painful or non-painful. 6. They are right knowledge, wrong knowledge, delusion, sleep, and memory. 7. Right knowledge is established on straight perception, inference, and reliable testimony. 8. Wrong knowledge is false knowledge, not established on true appearance, but illusion or real nature. 9. Delusion is following certain communication, mere words, devoid of ultimate reality. 10. Sleep is the mental activity established upon emptiness, voidness of other mind substances. 11. Memory is the preservation of perception, preservation of perceptions, not letting mental records slip away. 12. These flowing thoughts are restrained by practice and non-attachment or dispassion. 13. Practice is the persistent struggle, making effort again and again to gain steadiness. I take it again. Practice is the persistent struggle, making effort again and again to gain steadiness. 14. This practice becomes firmly grounded when continued with great persistence, perseverance, and tremendous love. You might want to highlight or write down some of these terms. 15. Detachment or dispassion. They are very powerful words. Detachment or dispassion towards the visible or audible. Everything seen or heard is mastery attained. 16. The highest discipline of detachment is the non-craving, which proceeds from thorough knowledge of the indweller. That's your real self. The indweller means your soul, what your body covers, the spirit, the soul, indweller. 17. Samadhi, the meditation known as right knowledge, is followed by critical thinking, clear understanding, perfect happiness, and the sense of I am. 18. There exists another samadhi or meditation accomplished by the persistent practice of abandonment and cessation of all mental activity, leaving only insignificant impressions as residue. 19. This meditation, when not accompanied by non-craving or total detachment, becomes the cause of shapeless existence and all beings who are merged in their nature. 20. For others, enlightenment comes through faith, energy, mindfulness, brilliant focus, and clear understanding. 21. Enlightenment is quite close to those who love dearly and are highly committed to their yogic discipline, training, and practice. 22. There is further classification regarding the degree of effort used or level of commitment as elementary, intermediate, and advanced. In other words, low, medium, and high. Low level, medium level, and high level, if you prefer. 23. Or by devotion to divinity. In other words, enlightenment is very near to the faithful or devotees devoted to God. God is a special universal indweller, unaffected by pain and suffering. God is a special universal indweller, unaffected by pain and suffering, actions and their consequences, or boundless desires and lusts. 25. In Almighty God, that special power of transcendental knowledge, which in others is finite, is infinite and boundless. 26. Being ageless and timeless. Ageless and timeless. I love these definitions. God is the teacher and master of even the ancient masters. Being ageless and timeless, he is the teacher and master of even the ancient masters. All these things you have to really sit back and deliberate for a while. You have to. These are issues that will challenge your intelligence. You have to sit down and really penetrate the depth of wisdom of the great teacher Patanjali, sage Patanjali. 27. The voice of the divinity is Om. Om, written in Sanskrit as Om, romanized as Om. I mean, you have to go to the script to see the difference of this. These are just translations, my translations. 28. The recitation of Om should be practiced with an excellent clarity of the meaning. 29. And then self-examination and self-analysis are achieved. Also achieved is the ruin and disappearance of all negative forces and obstacles. 30. Ill health, lack of zeal, skepticism, inattention, sloth, delusion, excessive sensuality, daydreaming, and want of concentration, want of stability, and one-pointed focus are the basic distractions of the mind. These are the fundamental negative forces and obstacles. 31. Discomfort, frustration, anxiety, disordered breathing are all negatives that arise with these fundamental obstacles. 32. The solution to the problems is the incessant practice of one principle, one pointed focus. 33. By developing affability towards joy and contentment, and sympathy towards pain and suffering, happiness towards good and unconcern towards evil, purity of mind is achieved. 34. By forcing out and controlling the breath. I take 34 again. By forcing out and controlling the breath. Breath control. Remember, this is one of the greats of yoga. You really breathe deeply, breathing deeply in all the way and out all the way. Filling the abdomen, and then flushing everything out. This is very powerful. It helps to release stress and keep you calm and at ease. So that's 34. By forcing out and controlling the breath. 35. Those kinds of focus that lead to very unusual perceptions of the senses cause steadiness of the mind. 36. Or by contemplating and concentrating on sorrowless illumination. 37. Or by contemplating and concentrating on the mind that has abandoned all sensual desires and attachments. 38. Or by contemplating and concentrating on the understanding arising from sleep and illusion. 39, or by contemplating and concentrating on the desirable. 40, the mind of the yogi, ever contemplating and concentrating, advances from the tiniest particle to the greatest mass. 41, when the anxieties, discomforts, and flickering nature of the mind are calmed, I love that word, okay, and kept under control, the mind becomes like a pure crystal, empowered to become one with anything that appears, the self, the mind, and the material appearance or existence. 41, I take it again. When the anxieties, discomforts, and flickering nature of the mind are calmed down, and kept under control, the mind becomes like a pure crystal, empowered to become one with anything that appears, the self, the mind, and the material appearance or existence. 42. There is the argumentative case in which arises the confusion of intermixing the name of a material thing, its correct interpretation, and understanding or wisdom. I take it again. There is the argumentative case in which arises the confusion of intermixing the name of a material thing, its correct interpretation and understanding or wisdom. 43. And there is the non-argumentative case, also known as without thinking. Without thinking. That's a very huge topic. You're going to find that out later. It's a mighty solution. Without thinking. Note that word, highlight it. When the memory is pure and only pure, otherwise empty and absolutely empty, leaving a glistening mind like sunshine, as if every material thing is an extension of sunshine. 44. By this process, the contemplative and the ultra contemplative, having the complex and complicated as material things, are also explained. 45. The world of the complex and complicated ends with pure formless, shapeless, and structureless matter. 46. These constitute the reflections and meditations with seed, objects, material things, etc. 47. Achieving purity of the meditation without thinking. Without thinking. Highlight that word. It's a golden word. There is absolute clarity in the inner consciousness. 48. In that state, divine power manifests, the power of truth, infinite life, and boundless wisdom. 49. The power received in this special state of consciousness is unique and different from the knowledge received from reading scriptures and drawing inferences. Power regarding little material things. 50. The resulting impressions of flowing thought from these meditations are obstacles obstructing all other impressions. The resulting impressions of flowing thoughts from the meditation are obstacles obstructing all other impressions. And finally, to conclude part 1, you can see I'm going through very quickly. I'm trying to finish part 1 because of the limitation of my clip. The last verse says, when these impressions of flowing thoughts are well controlled, the whole mind is well controlled, and meditation is then free from material things. So you have to understand what Patanjali is talking about here. I'll just give a brief conclusion here. There are 4 parts. It's like going to college and call it part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, or freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Then you graduate. Patanjali is just a genius, a mighty, 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 mighty genius. He's one of the greatest geniuses that ever lived in India and arguably in the world, in human history. The man is fantastic. He was able to give brilliant expression to yoga, while himself, of course, performing yoga. Patanjali is very deep. And what he's talking about here, yoga is body and soul. Really trying to understand the nature of body and soul, putting it together. As I said, you have to really go in meditation, sit in meditation and try to penetrate the depth of wisdom to come to enlightenment. self-management. You have to be able to handle the self and manage the self successfully. That's why I told you about without thinking, because thinking is a delusion. The thoughts, most of the human thoughts, all human beings think wrong thoughts, and most of what human beings contemplate are almost always wrong ideas. Human beings are mostly deluded. We inherit wrong ideas, and then we dwell on wrong ideas, and when we live on wrong ideas most of our lives. So we have to be careful. Thoughts. This is where yoga is so powerful, because when you practice yoga, it brings you sooner or later to divine concentration. You're able to practice what we call one-pointed concentration, which then brings you the enlightenment of without thinking. Because his thinking is mostly wrong and deluded. People start contemplating something, become suspicious of somebody, or you start thinking about something that is just incorrect, and then these occupy your mind. You see, what we have to be careful what we think. What you think, it occupies your mind, and that becomes your existence at that point. So we are very careful. That's why the Buddha wants, most of the time we may be deluded and just contemplating wrong thoughts. And you can imagine it's just like somebody just going astray right there, and then that becomes the life you are living, and it's pathetic what the results will be. If somebody just walks off the light and walks into the darkness and stumbles on and tumbles down drain into some mud and some pit and gets ruffled and dirty and everything. So we have to be careful what we think. That's where without thinking, the Japanese Zen, the Zen school, they came up with the idea of without thinking. And you practice the concentration, and you try to come to concentration, practice, deliberation, flowers, beautiful flowers. That becomes what comes into your mind. The enlightened masters, the divines. So you start good thinking, contemplating saints, good thoughts, beautiful flowers, beautiful gardens. You see that? And then your mind starts coming towards enlightenment. You stop thinking negative thoughts. You see, all these things, just self-programming, really. Life, we are programming ourselves. You have to choose what kind of food you want to eat. You don't want to eat poison. If you eat poison, you die. If you poison your tea, you die. Simple as all that. And yet, the same person, if you eat healthy foods, you just stay healthy. So, you see, you have to be very selective. You have to know the thoughts. Know what thoughts are. Know the bad thoughts. These thoughts are poisonous ones. They have been poisoned. I don't want to deal with those. You lose your life. So, with practice, the more you practice, the more you come to enlightenment. You begin to understand, without thinking, how to practice concentration. And if you're able to really practice, you start stilling the mind, beginning to bring the mind to one-pointed concentration, beginning to know yourself. I am in existence. You begin to understand yourself. I am in existence. I cannot be negatively programmed. Nothing from the outside bothers me. I am. And then your I am begins to overwhelm your I think. I think is always going to go wrong. I don't want to think. I am. You see, you become like the flowers. The flowers don't think, but the flowers are being, not thinking. Thinking may be misguided. Thinking may go wrong, but being can never go wrong. So all these are deep ideas. You get to understand them sooner or later. Cheers, and enjoy your contemplation and your contemplative day.